Murderbot's whole persona is something like my 13-year-old self would have loved to have been. Hello and welcome back to the couch. We saved you a seat. My name is Luke, and today we're checking out Chapter 2 of All Systems Red, the Murderbot Diaries. Yes, we like the book so far. It's pretty good. I especially like his entire persona, so we're just gonna jump into the chapter. But before that, if you want to follow along, there's a link to Amazon in the description below. Click on the link, buy the book, come on back, and let's continue with the book. Here we go. So we begin chapter 2 with Murderbot waking up, and it's been about 8 hours. He's at 80% efficiency. A notice through the feed from Minsei has extended the restriction from leaving the habitat for an additional 4 hours, giving Murderbot some time to recoup the rest of his efficiency. And he received another notice for him to report into the crew quarters, which was a little bit interesting, being that usually he gets talked to straight through the feed. He is treated as a subhuman. So these are a group of humans who are treating him kind of like a human. You also find out that Preservation O or Preservation Ox is this group's designation that has bought this kind of share of this survey so they can go and see if the planet is habitable. That's something else you find out, is that this kind of thing is called a freehold planet. And essentially, a freehold planet means that it's been terraformed and then colonized, but it's not really controlled by any group, organization, or government. And so apparently it's just a big shit show. Yeah. So MB tosses on some street clothes and goes to the crew quarter and sees that Minsei and the rest of the crew are kind of busy, so he just kind of stands there. And when he stands there, one of the other doctors, a Dr. Rat-Tai, I kind of want to call the doctor Dr. Rat-Thie or Rat-Thigh, but I'm pretty sure it's Rat-Tai. Anyway, is bewildered and is like, who is that? Because they're still not used to him or Murderbot being in his like regular clothes and human clothes. He's still used to the opaque mask, which we'll play into it later. There's a really fun part right there. This is where you find out that the regular normies, they call him a SecUnit, not Murderbot. Murderbot is a self-proclaimed name. SecUnit is the designation. Then Dr. Minsei explains the entire situation, and Dr. Pin Lee thinks that the reason they didn't know about the creature was that some of the data had been either damaged or hacked or misplaced, and wanted Murderbot to examine it. This is where you find out that all of the rest of the crew are humans, pure humans, except for Dr. Guruthan, and he's an advanced human, but with Murderbot's systems being more advanced and being a full cyborg, Murderbot is able to check to see if there's any anomalies in the survey reports that they received, and so he's able to check, and sure enough, Murderbot sees that there is some stuff missing. The crew goes into a panic and is just acting all pissed off and whatnot. And this is where you find out that Murderbot actually kind of likes this crew. They're pretty chill, they're pretty laid back, they're easy to hang with, they all kind of like each other. He reminisces about their relationships and that he kind of watches them on the feed, and that it's essentially the characters from Friends or a sitcom. It's really fun and nice and soft, their whole relationships and vibe. There's couples here, there's couples there. We cut back to the crew, and the crew's biologist says that the reason there are craters there is they assume that the large creature that almost consumed the other doctor definitely was hunting the other animals on the beach, and the crater is what causes it. So the question then becomes, did somebody or someone hack the system and change the reports? So they ask Murderbot if it can be hacked. Well, of course it can from the inside. He had hacked the system because he turned off his own govern module. See, it's everything in these systems, like the Matrix, they're all systems of control. So he'd have to hack the hub system from the inside to make sure it didn't catch his system, his governor module, from being overtaken, and he could act out, per se. So in order to cover his tracks a little bit and probably tell them the truth, he determines and he lets them know that the data was probably damaged before they received it. This is where we then find out that there's another team on another continent on the planet, and they work for a different group or a different faction. Dr. Minsei then orders all of the specialists to check their own material to see if there was anything missing. And when Murderbot says, "Hey, do you need anything else from me?" Dr. Minsei says, "No, you can go, but if you'd like to stay, you can." Well, this is the greatest part because he's used to wearing the helmet. He's used to wearing the armor. And Murderbot's like, and gets real awkward, right? But Murderbot doesn't notice it. And so that's when he's like, and Dr. Massey is like, you can leave if you want. That's okay. That's fine. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and check the perimeter. And it's all embarrassing and it's kind of cute. I love his anxiety. Murderbot's anxiety is kind of awesome. It's like, I'm socially inept. I don't know how to be a person. And part of it is that like there's some self-awareness that's happening, right? There's some education. There's some growth that's happening. It's like, yeah. But also can't find out that he's got emotions and feelings and he's thoughtful. He's not just some cyborg. Cut to a few moments later, and Murderbot's back into space. He reflects on what happened and begins to work. He begins to check the perimeter. He checks the stock of the supplies on the hopper. He does all of those things, and then he's like, "All right, I got a minute. I'm gonna start watching some TV." So flips on the tube, right? He flips on the tube. He starts watching TV, and this is when he gets to a sex scene, and this is where you find out that Murderbot isn't really a he. In the show, when we did the trailer reaction, we saw that Murderbot was casted as a male, right? In the book, I guess, there is no sexual organs. And so when he gets to a sex scene, or when Murderbot gets to a sex scene, it skips past it. I feel uncomfortable saying it. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to still call Murderbot he, even though we're all on the same page that Murderbot is, that is what it is in the show. I've not seen the show, but that's how I see Murderbot. I'll try my best. But if I screw up and say he, please forgive me. It is super funny that Murderbot just skips the sex scenes because Murderbot finds them boring. I think that's awesome. This is where we also find out that Murderbot has no idea what planet they're on. And Murderbot hadn't even seen or read any of the rest of the survey package because, you guessed it, he didn't feel like he needed to. Why would he? There's nothing telling him that he has to. He has no governor module. He's hacked the systems to make sure that they are not aware that he has no governor module, or he's hacked the governor module. So why would he? And his words, not mine. I also don't care. Pretty funny. It's kind of like me when I was a kid. I don't care. Pretty good. This is the kind of character in real life that when they were in middle school, they would take a 0, right, on an assignment or a homework or something, and just be like, I didn't do it. Why didn't you do it? Because it wasn't worth my fucking time. That is this character, for sure. So then he finds out, or Murderbot finds out, that at the same time, that the crew has been working on all of their sections, and there's 6 pieces of the map missing from what they got from the survey. And of course, they have communicated with the other group, and they've shared information, and what they've come to find out is these 6 sections of the map, they want to go check it out. So when they finally decide they're going to check it out, Minsei reaches out to Murderbot and says, we're going to go check it out. And of course, for him to keep his governor module going, and he probably would have just checked it out himself, but he can't leave the crew for an extended space. He was like, I'm going with you. That's the end of the chapter. Very human chapter, very in our own head. This book, I imagine, very easily could be read in a day, in an afternoon. There's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of time jumps. It's very much like, this all could have taken place in under 10 minutes. Everything in this space of time. Maybe with the clothes changing, 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It would be pretty easy just to do a full book review. And I'm not surprised they've made this into a stream show, because if you've got 100 and how many pages, 150 pages, 140 pages of content, it's essentially a script. Most scripts are 90 pages at most, and the exposition isn't really there, right? It all becomes dialogue, or it becomes assumed, or it becomes actions, right? Show, don't tell. So I'm not surprised this became a series, a script. You could very easily add all of the context here. Hell, the first 5 minutes of the book could be the first episode. I often talk about, for example, someone talked to me about the comments because I kept on referring Murderbot's, the SecUnit, to a man. And someone in the comments had said they weren't sure. Their vision of what Murderbot is was female for their own reasons, which I totally respect. To me, I think of Master Chief from Halo. Murderbot is that person, except for instead of being honor bound, Murderbot's a 15-year-old kid who has been let off the leash for the first time and is just doing whatever they want to, sleeping in, going to bed super, super late, right? This is the kind of, like, we're a year or two away from Murderbot getting into some hard drugs or finding booze in their parents' cabin. That's what I see. So I see, like, kind of just a super immature Halo character. But it is interesting that they don't have, or Master Chief, it is interesting that they don't have any sex organs and they find sex to be boring. That's hilarious because it goes against the trope I just mentioned. Also, I have friends who find sex on television kind of boring because they also see it as a show. One of the things that I find interesting too is Murderbot sees everything as if it's a work. It's as if he's watching professional wrestling all the time. It's something that happens to me all the time. Whenever I see people and they're acting up or acting out in the wild, I often think, I'm like, oh, right, they're playing their caricature. This isn't who they are normally. They're playing their caricature. I often find that there's basically 3 personalities within people, right? There's the caricature version, loud, obnoxious, fun, outgoing, interesting, interested. Their caricature, their wrestling persona, per se. Then there's the NPC, right? There's the one that's like, can dancers, want to get past, gonna use the same vocabulary as the people around them. They're super aware of their surroundings. They're super aware of what's happening. They're super aware of what's going on, and they just want to make sure they don't stir the pot. Nothing outlandish, nothing crazy. Right in the realm of expectations for everyone within the room, and then you prioritize those people based on importance or whatever you want to call it. Then there's the actual persona, the regular, if you're in a room, maybe with people and you can be super comfortable with, there's that persona too. I feel like most people have all 3 of these, and it's funny that Murderbot sees everyone as this wrestling persona. It's like, oh, this is a fake person. They're not even real. The Murderbots just consume 35,000 hours of content. Of course, Murderbot sees everyone as his persona, and we're seeing it in the first person. He talks in this chapter about, oh, humans don't want me around. We don't know that. We have no idea, right? In Project Hail Mary, we talked about a false narrator. Like, was Ryland Grace a false narrator? Is Murderbot a false narrator? Not a false narrator, an unreliable narrator. Is Murderbot an unreliable narrator? Is there just an assumption, right? Because he's on social media and he sees all the vitriol, or if he's read it in books or seen it on movies and television, those who are meant to kill are often hated for the tasks they do. Maybe they don't care. These humans, maybe they don't actually care. Even though he knows that they didn't want him there, maybe they didn't want him there wasn't because of the violence. Maybe it was something else. He doesn't know, but he just assumes that they don't want him there. And it's pretty interesting that he's turned this governor module off, and he's got all these assumptions, and he's also treating all of the people that are around him like characters in a play or in wrestling. That's how he sees them. It's all a work. Even their dialogue comes off as fake or canned or NPC-like. He even says that Dr. Massey is quick to making decisions, so he's not going to go back to his TV program because he knows that it'll just get interrupted by whatever decision she comes up with that will surely include him. Or, Murderbot. It's pretty interesting. I kind of love this, actually. I often think this way when I see people that are like in their element. It's like, oh, NPC mode, NPC mode, NPC mode. Oh, they're living their caricature, they're living their caricature, they're living their caricature. They're often determined by the importance of the people around them, whether it's their parents, friends, family, strangers. If they're physically attracted to that person. I know that in the gym, I am quiet as a mouse. I don't talk to a soul. I barely look up. But if you get me in a bar and a drink or two in me, I'm singing at the bar. Singing loudly. I'm annoying. I'm not introverted in that way when I'm living my best life. So it's pretty interesting. It's interesting how Murderbot sees it. He sees everything like a TV show. It's all he knows. He's consumed so much, he thinks everyone's a character. This is the last reference I'll make, and then I think I'll close it out. But the TV show Kevin Can Fuck Himself is such an interesting version of this, right? Because her perspective is that he's horrendous, a horrendous human being, terrible, awful, and his perspective is, I'm a sitcom dad. It's like a real life Family Guy, where the Family Guy man is just a jerk and a drunk and has ADHD and is doing stupid shit all the time. And the wife's like, well, Peter, I'm a mother. You know? It's pretty interesting. I like how this book is written in that way. It gives me pause to think about, oh, when I see someone in public transportation, are they in their NPC mode where they're just staring at their phone, looking at their watch, reading the paper, doing whatever? Or are they in their is this their like regular mode? Or is this their extroverted, their extra mode? Who knows? But I think that's going to be it for me. Look, if you like this book and you want to continue the conversation in the comments, I'd love to keep chatting about that in the comments. But if you like the book, like I said, there's a link in the description. Click the link, buy the book, get a little bit of a kickback. If you already have the book, and you still want to support the channel, just click the link and buy something else. It'll help me out. But I think that's all for me. So until next time, later, taters.